Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Sunday, June 1st, 2025, and on Sundays we talk about the purpose and meaning of life. I recall when I was in grad school, I was exposed to so many great thinkers and so many great ideas, almost to the point of having an existential crisis. How could I ever measure up and come up with some of my own great ideas? I realized way back then that it's extremely difficult to come up with something truly new and original. And I was also writing songs back then too. I have been most of my life actually. And I had the same question, the same problem, if you will. How do you do something that's completely different, something that hasn't been said or heard before? After all, every note has been played, every chord has been played, every word has been spoken at some point or another. So unless you invent a new sound or a new word, it's all been done, right? But I guess it's possible. So, but then I finally realized as I started to teach, especially, university students, university classrooms, that sort of things, that it's not that you have to be so deeply original and profound in all that you say, or just to be able to share good or important ideas. Rather, it's because of your own training and your own learning that you often have something new to share simply because the students haven't heard that idea before, or they haven't heard it framed the way that you framed it. So that's, in a sense, your original contribution. And indeed, you can think of it this way. All of the ideas that we ever have are new to us at some point in our lives. We will have heard the ideas for the first time. We will have heard the word for the very first time at some point in our past. And then once in a while, we may indeed come up with a new idea, an original idea of some kind or another, or perhaps string together some things in a new way that actually hasn't been done before. And that's obviously really cool when we're able to do that. So it's like when I finish, writing a new song, for example, or I finish an article that I hope to publish, and I share it with my wife, and I say, hey, look, or listen to this. And she'll go, oh, wow, that's cool. Hopefully, not always. But the point is she hasn't heard it before. So in stringing the words together and stringing the sounds together, we are still creating something new. Now, is it earth-shattering and groundbreaking and, Nobel Prize winning? Not usually, but it's something. And like I said, if nothing else, it's our way of expressing our thoughts, our ideas, our emotions, our feelings, and so on. So anyway, then my wife sent me a brief clip the other day about a life coach who explained that the power that we all have a power, if you will, that lies within each of us to be coaches in that sense, so that the people that we encounter may not have heard a specific idea previously, or even if they have, and it's been around for a long time, the point is that they may be hearing it from you for the first time, and vice versa. So what's cool about teaching and dialogues and conversations is our ability then to share something maybe that somebody else hasn't heard previously. And so I think that's where the key lies, so to speak. That is, we have to trust ourselves, trust yourself that you have a message to share with the world, whatever the context, however small or large the audience. So for example, I see a number of, YouTube channels, obviously, and some of these are quite huge. Some of them have, millions upon millions of followers, and that's great. And their videos will get tens of thousands of views just within hours of being released. And so by comparison, the Dr. J Vlog series has just over 325 members so far. A very modest figure, to be sure. And most of the videos get about 50 views on average, or maybe 5 to 10 likes, something like that. So what's my conclusion? Well, that's about 50 people then, who maybe for the first time, or at least for that particular vlog, they showed up at just the right time to get the message that I have to share. And again, it may be something that you already know. But it's a bit like my university teaching, right? So I have second year courses, for example, that will have 50 to 60 students. And I guess as fate would have it, we'll all end up together, at least for the semester, about once a week. Our classes at King's are typically taught on 3-hour segments, 3-hour blocks once a week. And so I'm paid to deliver some messages and some information on certain subjects that I've studied for a long time. And that's cool, especially if I've learned the material well and I can offer my own energetic signal and usually a few stories along the way to help them learn and to grow. And so what I'm suggesting then is if you're feeling a calling or an urge to share your voice and your message in a specific way, in context, as a coach, a teacher, a parent, a sibling, a coworker, just as a friend, whatever, then there's almost certainly a parallel calling by those, or calling out, if you will, by those around you who need to hear from you. And that includes even right at this moment. So apparently you're here right now because you're supposed to hear what I have to say and share with you today. Not because it's original, not because I'm some kind of a profound sage, I'm obviously not, but rather because we're here together at this moment in this particular space. And I've put together this little vlog. And you've decided that this is what you needed to listen to for a few moments. And by the way, thanks for doing that. Seriously, thanks for spending a few minutes with me. And while none of what I share with you will ever be entirely new or original or from the source or from God, maybe you just needed to hear this particular message from little old me. And at other times and places, people will need to hear from you and your messages because you were designed and the stars aligned to share a timely message with your little corner of the world. And so that's where you can start. So what's the message you'd like to share? What's bubbling up inside of you? Most importantly, what message do you have that will make a positive difference in the world? And if you're not sure of the message, then the first thing to do would be to let go of the ideas and the worries and the negative thoughts that are cluttering your mind. So to find and understand your true purpose, you have to first empty your mind and to be receptive of new ideas and experiences. We need stillness to do that, but modern life often doesn't grant us that. And that's why, by the way, most monks or anyone seeking, deep enlightenment usually have to get away from the trappings of everyday life. Everyday life's just too turbulent. It's too crazy. So many deadlines and distractions, fears and foibles that weigh us down. And what weighs us down more than just about anything else? Our own negative thoughts. But again, we have to remember, you are not your thoughts. Instead, you can observe your thoughts, and gradually you'll come to understand that most of these are not even your own thoughts necessarily, but usually rather they're the echoes of the past, or the voices and the judgments of others, or the borrowed opinions that you really don't need to necessarily hold on to. It's like the singer-songwriter Steve Forbert once sang one of his early tunes. Well, don't you go thinking and thinking and thinking so much till you're stranded behind. Don't you go thinking and thinking and thinking so much till you're losing your mind. So allow the thoughts then to freely flow, but just be aware that that's all that they are. And crucially, you have the choice to just let them flow on by harmlessly. By the same token, I'm of the opinion that it's helpful then to identify the good ones, the positive ones, the seemingly original ones. And that's what I call inspiration. So I much prefer the inspirational ones over the depressing ones. That's not always been the case. I think when I was growing up and in my early adulthood, I somehow gravitated more to the depressing ones than the inspirational ones. And so, again, I would recommend that you spend some time each day in quiet reflection, observing your thoughts, and then building upon those which you find the most inspiring. And if you do that first thing in the morning, and that's actually what I've been trying to do now for quite some time, then that can set yourself up for the whole day. So again, remember, you are not your thoughts, but you are the subjective being. You're the awareness that sees those thoughts and interprets those. And you have to trust that the universe allows you to receive what you need to receive at just the right time. Again, if you allow yourself the freedom, the awareness to be able to take them in. And then you can put on the finishing touches. And most importantly, what do I mean by that? Align your energies in the proper direction to pursue the good thoughts, the best thoughts, the important ones, with your actions. So people in the universe then respond to who you are based on your energy, based on your alignment. And it's actually quite simple. So what would happen if you align yourself with negative thoughts and exude negative energy? How do people respond? You know this. Usually with negativity or hostility, fear, or just simple disengagement. They want to get away from you. And so there are some people then who exude such overwhelmingly negative energy, you might not be able to remain in their presence for more than a few seconds, at least not without this kind of the strongest Buddhist-like philosophical clothing to wear. And not only is it wasteful and often hurtful to indulge such people, but the damage then usually extends further, at least to the extent that you continue to think about such people and maybe fashion your own negative thoughts about them. It's all just such a waste of time and energy. So instead, if you allow your inner world to be calm and free and vibrating with positive energy, you'll attract a very different kind of response. Simply put, if you want peace in your life, then start by projecting peace from the center of your being and from your heart. And look for that in others. For these are the people who have something truly profound to teach you, to teach us. And in contrast, I'm not going to name any names, but sometimes I'll be listening to a public figure, for example, for just a few moments, and I'll quickly realize they are conveying negativity, hostility, even hatred in their words and their actions or their proposed actions and policies. But even at the interpersonal or the one-on-one level, I can sense almost instantly if someone's operating from a place of genuine love or positive energy at one end of the continuum, or if they're exuding negative energy, harmful intentions at the other end. So think positive thoughts and manifest that in your everyday purposeful life. If you want to attract health and abundance and well-being, then start by cultivating your own positive energy. What signals then are you regularly conveying? Fear or freedom? Chaos or calm? Grievance or gratitude? For whatever you convey, you can be assured that that's what you're going to attract back into your life in equal measure. Just kind of basic physics. Whatever kind of electromagnetic force you are producing, that's going to serve to attract or repel similar kinds of energy. If you smile at someone, you're almost always going to get a smile back. Not always, but most of the time. Repeat that practice over and over again, just over the course of a few minutes, and see how many smiles you can actually generate. It's incredible. Conversely, if you were to share a frown or give off negative energy, certainly if you were to directly yell at people or whatever, how are people going to respond? It's equally and painfully obvious. So from a Buddhist philosophical perspective, if your inner world is cluttered with complaint and resentment or resistance, then the external world naturally is going to reflect all of that back to you, just like a mirror. So, if you continually strive to align your energy then in positive ways toward the sunlight that wishes to burst forth out of your heart, then you're going to attract positive energy. And the right people will show up in your life at just the right time. Or you'll be that right person for someone else. You'll be in tune vibrationally, electromagnetically, physically, spiritually with the universe and able to go with the flow. So to cultivate such positive energy, you have to start by stopping, slowing down, sitting down, and practicing serenity. So we can conclude then just with a simple heart exercise. So all you need to do is just place your index and middle finger on your carotid arteries. You have one on either side there, okay? Okay, now if you do that, find the pulse. You feel that beating there? That's your heart rate. Okay, now close your eyes. Take some deep breaths and exhale slowly. Ready? What happens? You can feel the pulse change. You can feel it slowing down. So if you're able to relax, if you're able to empty your mind further of any negative thoughts in particular, you'll almost always feel your heart rate slowing down. And indeed, at the same time, you can shift the nature of the energy that you're giving off as well. You know when you've been feeling joyful or you're feeling positive or engaged or when you're happy to meet someone, right? And that excited feeling and those and you give that off. And you know then that you can actually then help orient yourself in just a similar kind of positive way. You can do that with intention, right? I actually take a few minutes before every class, before any public lecture, what have you, and I remind myself not just to do my job well and hopefully, give a good lecture. It's like before you play a basketball game or whatever. I hope I have a good game. So yeah, you can build yourself up with some positive thoughts in that regard, but I also remind myself to be calm and loving in sharing that information and through my interactions with my students. It's a ritual. I do it before every class, before every encounter as such. And I actually do that before I speak to you folks too. You never know who might be watching, okay? Or who might need to hear your message. So be ready. And there's much more to come from all of this. But for now, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And I'm going to be looking tomorrow at positive energy from more of a mathematical and a statistical orientation. But I think you'll find it fascinating. Hope to see you then. Take care.